Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I know you have anywhere you can be right now, but you made it a point to be here with us, so I appreciate that. My name is Dustin Stuntebeck. I am with Murideo. I am the new Vice President of Sales. So, introductions. Hello. I'll be the new face of Murideo. Since we have kind of gone a new direction, also, I just wanted to let everybody know that we have become a standalone entity. I don't know if you saw anything on some of our press releases and things like that. But we have moved apart, and now we are being able to move in a different direction, which is able to give us a lot more capability to shift on a dime, create new products, put more things into more manufacturing. And what better way to do that than to just start out with a new product right away? We have partnered with a company called MSolutions, which is everything that we're going to talk about today. Very exciting stuff. On the call here, I have Jason Dustall, who is also part of Murideo, and Tom Devine. I'm sure if you've ever seen one of our webinars before, you've seen his happy glowing face before. So we are happy to start that out. I wanted to welcome everybody. Right after the webinar here too, I will be sending out my contact information, as well as we will be flashing up the Murideo info screen on there too. That way, if you do have any more further questions or anything else that we could possibly help you out with, you'll have a direct connection to me. With that, I'm going to kick it over to Tom here to start out, and he will get us going.
Thanks, Dustin. I appreciate it. So, all right, guys, as Dustin said, my name is Tom. I'm with Murideo, and today we are going to talk about a new product here. So I'm going to pull up my presentation. We're going to go through a presentation and some slides, and then we will be able to shoot over to Jason, who's actually going to give us a hands-on demo approach. So let's take a look here. Make sure that I'm sharing properly. Okay, let me pull my PowerPoint up. All right, guys. So this today, as Dustin said, Murideo is its own entity now. And one of the first things that we are doing is we are partnering with a company called MSolutions to bring you an HDBaseT tester to the American market. And so what we're able to do with this tester is test HDBaseT cables. And everybody knows Murideo for a lot of the products that we already have. So let's give you a quick introduction in a second with that. But this product is going to be doing things differently. So today we're going to cover how to use it, why to use it, how it works, when to use it, and why this is going to be so impactful for our installers, manufacturers, anybody that's working with HDBaseT, AV over IP is going to want this device. So a little housekeeping things first. You guys all have a GoToWebinar control panel. If you are watching this live, at that area you have a questions, so you can share your questions. You can type them in right there, and then me, Dustin, and Jason can all see those live coming right in, and then we'll be able to interject and answer those as we come. And the best way for this training to be super impactful is for those questions to come in. So please make sure that you are typing in those questions if you have that question. I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing. So that's all ready to go, and let's take a look at who Murideo is. Top TV manufacturers, connectivity brands, integrators, schools, offices, corporate environments all use Murideo for testing audio video signals. We have the 7G, 6G, 6A, Fox and Hound, and then we also have test monitors. Now, these are all a part of our product line, and you can get these now. A lot of manufacturers and integrators are using these on every single install. So today we're going to kind of show how we are moving away from just strictly HDMI testing into HDBaseT and AV over IP testing for that category cable, because we all know HDMI has limitations for how long that distance can go. In order to send those signals long distances, we use HDBaseT. It's this type of technology that was built for sending these signals back and forth long distances. So that's what everybody uses. We have category cable installed in in the buildings we're running our systems through. So we use that category cable to send HDMI signals long distances. We do that using HDBaseT. While that is all well and good, anybody who's installed HDBaseT or anybody who's sending high bandwidth 4K signals are HD signals, long distances over category cable, there's plenty of things that can go wrong. And there's nothing worse than putting together an entire system, connecting everything, and then you have dropout in zones or static or some things are not working. Well, with this tester, that eliminates all of that guesswork, and you know exactly what kind of cable infrastructure is set up throughout the home, the office, the school, so that you can confidently install products knowing beforehand if they will or if they won't work, or testing those products in those scenarios. With this HDBaseT tester from Murideo, I want to go back here one. It has, what it does is it link monitoring for up down link. So that's the signals that are going from the transmitter to the receiver in an HDBaseT situation. There are signals going back and forth, and what this does is it actually reads those signals, and it reads the bits very specifically for how many errors could come through and how that could affect audio video. Unlike the Fox and Hound and the Murideo 6G and 6A, picking a test pattern and a resolution and sending it through the pipe and seeing if it'll end or show on the other end, that's a great way for testing resolutions, compatibility for other products, and all sorts of different things. This is going to be a little bit differently. With this one, it's the perfect marriage for the Fox and Hound or the 6G because you're marrying these technologies together. You get to test that and generate those high bandwidth signals to send it through your pipeline. But then with this, you actually get to test this infrastructure. So you're actually testing the cable, how long it is, and we'll get into everything about the cable that you'll see, but you get a whole bunch of information about this actual cable and how healthy that is for audio video distribution. That means when you leave the site after you've used this, you leave with 100% certainty that the cabling is going to work. Less truck rolls means more time, more money for you as an integrator to install more. And customers using the HDBaseT tester from Murideo, they saw a decrease in site returns by 40%. That is a huge margin. And the way that we are launching this now, but already able to have that stat is because this is being used throughout the rest of the world, just not as much in North America. We are bringing this to North America by partnering with our partner, MSolutions. So this is a marriage where Murideo does HDMI so well that we saw a company, MSolutions, doing HDBaseT so well, we knew we had to partner up with them and give that or deliver this solution to the rest of our integrators. Some of the key features is this is the only HDBaseT certified tester on the market. So you can actually certify every single cable run for HDBaseT compatibility and even get a printout that you can show with your customer. Going to be a huge part of the benefits of this device. You certify 4K cable infrastructure. It works on a battery. It has Wi-Fi, so you can just move around and walk around with it and still have it connected to a computer or a phone and check it out remotely, or you get this nice screen, as you can see right on top of it in this carrying case. We actually have a development where you will be able to get this device and a Fox and Hound in one case, so look out for that in the future. It does AV over IP testing. You have power testing. It does 5-play HDBaseT testing with the 2310 chip for those that are familiar. And then it also has built-in a log file analysis, so you can actually test over long periods of time, and then you're able to get a readout, a PDF readout that you can find out what's going on and share that with your client, adding to the professionalism of your installs. So a lot of people may say, well, Tom, I already have a category cable tester. I don't need this HDBaseT tester. I have this, and a lot of them will look just like this. And this is not this fluke tester or this continuity tester. These are different things than what this HDBaseT tester is. A lot of these fluke testers are only going to be able to certify things up to 1 gigabit per second for 1 gig Ethernet, which is great Ethernet. But for audio video, we need 10 times that amount of data. We're going up to 10 gigabits per second. So the HDBaseT is actually able to give you 8 gigabit per second link that is required for HDBaseT with that 2 gigabit per second leniency to bring you up to that 10.2 HDBaseT maximum gigabit per second. Most of these devices, they only verify or qualify that things are right and that you're getting a signal through for that low grade signal. it's only going to test point to point, and it's only going to test immediately at that time. This HDBaseT tester is actually going to test HDBaseT. It's going to test HDMI, DCR, AV over IP. These are the things that you're going to want as an integrator when you send audio video over category cable instead of just IP, or excuse me, computer data that you would have on a network. And this is the only test equipment that will guarantee a cable can pass HDBaseT. So that way you can guarantee your run will work. You can get a printout that says so, and you can provide that to your customer. Now you know when you go on to your next install, you're not going to be called to go back to there and figure out what's going on with that long run because you already tested it, you already know. And so let's take a look exactly at what you're testing. So if we look here, we have the performance test is going to be the main thing. So you, if you look here, you can, this is the screen that would be on the actual device. And then you can get that same screen by checking out the web GUI through any computer or phone, and we will look at that in a second. But you can see you can change, you can test the transmitter, the receiver, you can get this data screen, or you can get this configuration. Now this data screen actually is a moving screen, but you can kind of start to see the information we get here. It's going to give you detailed performance analysis of every single twisted, darn LaCroix, every single twisted pair infrastructure. Then you also get data at both the transmitter and the receiver. That's what I was saying with the switch back and forth. And you have a very, very easy to understand system. So let's actually look at that system. If I go, if you guys want to visit this with me, you can, but this is, we're going to look at a simulator that is of the web GUI that you would be able to use with this device. So we're going to look at that. If you want to, you can go into any browser, type in 185.250.106.202, and you'd be able to do the same with me, and you guys can look at this, or you can just look right here as well. So I have it up, as you can see, I pulled it here. It's going to immediately go to the home screen, but I've already clicked on the performance because this is really what I want to show you is this performance meter. So what's going on? We got this kind of cool squiggly line. We have these cool colors and a bunch of data, but what does this all mean? What is it saying? So let's take a look at that. As you can see, each one of these lines is moving up and down, and it's getting a data read. What you can see is the A is the red, B is the blue, C is the yellow, and D is the green. And each one of these lines represents one of the twisted pair inside the category cable. And what you're looking at here is the max error, and then this is the MSE error, which is more like an average of the errors that are coming through. But both of these are what we want to look at for a healthy stream. So this and this are telling you the exact same information. So you can use the speed dials, or you can use this for a little more closer look. But what we don't want to ever have is the error rate go above the red line. If it goes above the red line, that means there's no HDBaseT signal. You will not get an HDBaseT signal. Or if you are getting HDBaseT signal and you can see a picture, you better know that there's going to be a lot of dropouts happening, and you will have to go back on site. If your error rate is in between the red line and the yellow line, that's just caution. Now, you will be able to pass a signal will go through, it's no problem. But if you get some EMI, or you get some sort of problem or a kink in the cable, that's going to really pull it over into the red. Where we can see this simulator is all underneath that yellow line, so this is a healthy signal. The way you can read it over here is you have your green, yellow, and red, but we can see our blue line is actually what the health of the signal is at. And for all 4 of our twisted pairs, you can see that our blue is in the green. So this is a healthy signal. So what are we actually looking at here? We can look at, if I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit, and this is going to be like the data window. So as you can see, I'm going to run it through. You got the pixel clock, you got 297 million pixels running at 4K and refreshing every, at 30 Hertz. You have the chip type. So this is really interesting right here, is it will, when you have this all connected, which Jason will show you guys how to connect this all up, but I want you to have a good understanding beforehand. You will see that there's different types of chips types for HDBaseT. And for you to understand what's in this HDBaseT projector or what's in this HDBaseT matrix switcher that you're getting on site and you're after retrofitting, or this commercial display with an HDBaseT input, what kind of chip this is working with, will my other HDBaseT products be compatible with it? You can check that by knowing exactly what type of chipset's in it. In this simulation, they're using a VS100. It could be a VS2310, could be any of the other ones that the Valens company makes those chips for the HDBaseT. HDBaseT has 5 plays, so you could have Ethernet and IR, control, audio, video control, power, all over the HDBaseT link. So this current setup, you can see Ethernet is not supported and IR is not supported. If it was supported, it'd be a green check. UART is supported, and we can see that our link status is an HDBaseT signal via, maybe it could be a AV over IP signal. Then we have our cable length, which is extremely cool feature of this, and this is accurate within 5%. So you can actually do this, run this test, and you can see exactly how long your cable is, knowing that if you are running a 70-meter extender and you have it running at 92 meters, well, you probably shouldn't do that. You got to go with the 100-meter extender at that point. You know what I mean? So then you can also see HDCP, and you can go into your active profile, which you can change the different profiles if you are using specific Extron cables or Belden cables. So let's go back to our PowerPoint here. And so everybody can take a look at that. That's a part of that Cloud OS. You can download all your PDFs that we'll talk about from there. You can view the information. You can give this to a client so they can check it out. A really, really cool part of this system. So we kind of went over the key features here, but you got the pixel clock, chipset, feature, cable length, HDCP. Now this is a part of the device that is going to end up being probably one of the things that an integrator who's installing is going to use most, because what they can do with this is they can certify every single lane, or excuse me, every single zone for HDBaseT transport. So if you have 8 zones throughout an installation with 8 category cables going to each zone, you would be able to certify each one, get a actual green pass, knowing that this section of category cable is perfectly stable for HDBaseT, and then you can save that information and you can get a report. So this is the report you would get then. So you would then be able to put your own logo right at the top for whatever, if you're a manufacturer, your manufacturing logo, if you're an integrator, your integrator logo, and then you would be able to present this to your client and let them know, yes, this is each one of your channels. Here's the pass, here's a pass, here's your health, here's your readout. You're able to keep this. It shows them with this little diagram exactly how you took those readings. A really, really cool and useful piece that's going to differentiate you from your competitors. Not to mention, when you do large installs, your customer wants peace of mind that everything is taken care of, that you have done your due diligence as an integrator. Don't you think that will be exactly what they get when you hand them a report, or you give them a link to a computer file that has a report for every single one of their category cables' health when it comes to audio video? It's a very, very clear way for you to differentiate you from the other integrators out there providing services that your customers will soon come to expect. Another, as we talked about, was the time testing. So this really comes into the troubleshooting aspect. We've been doing a lot of testing of the system. Now you want to figure out, hey, you've had a problem with an HDBaseT run. Now let's figure out what's going on with that. Every time you get on site, it looks great, so there's no problem, right? No, there could be a problem. So if you want to use this, now you can analyze over a 1 minute all the way to 24 hours. So over an entire day worth of time that you would be able to look at the system, see what's happening with the system, and when it's done, of course, get a large readout of exactly what's going on with your system so that you can present that to your customer, use that information to find out what the problems are that they're having and how to fix them. Another main feature is it has a power module that you are able to then actually check the power that is happening over those twisted pair. So as we all know, we have power going over that copper cable as well to push those signals along. You can test the different types of power, like the parallel DC resistance unbalanced and pair-to-pair resistance unbalanced. And then you would be able to check every single pair. So as you can see, we have back to our pair, our A or B or C or D, and then we have a check mark. If it was not a healthy power signal, then this would not be checked. We would have a red cross mark there to let people know that you are having a problem with power. And you may say, well, what does power have to do with audio, video? Why does that matter? If of tons of integrators can tell you who have been in this position, and tons of tech support people that can tell you that power matters. Just recently, we had a customer that we sent them this device to use to see what was going on with their system, because they were having a pesky system. They had an exercise room in their installation, and anytime anybody went and started exercising a bunch, the system went down and people weren't able to understand it. But it so happened that the exercise equipment was drawing so much power that it wasn't able to actually power the audio video equipment anymore. And they were able to see this using this type of test, which is a really, really cool use for this, in a way that you can not have to do guesswork on site, not have to, I think it's this and it could be this product. No, now you know specifically where your failures are coming from. This is the report as well that you can get for your power. As you can see, we show one failing at the bottom here because it is not going to be at the standard that you need for a healthy signal. We also have a HDMI cable test, and so this is going to be different type of test than what our Fox and Hound and our 6A, 6G, and 7G kind of those type of tests. This is an HDMI cable test, but it's going to actually test every single one of the 19 pinouts. And what is really testing for is it's testing for, oh, do you have a shared wire in your pinout? Maybe a signal, two signals are supposed to use one wire. That can cause problems. Do you have a missing wire? Maybe a wire that the HDMI manufacturer wanted to save because it doesn't get used normally for normal audio video, but it could be used for ARC or control or eARC, one of these new features. Well, this will tell you the health of that actual cable in those aspects. It's not going to be able to send a full 18 gigabit per second signal like a Fox and Hound would. So this is definitely a companion piece where if you do want the full picture of your system, you do need to have that pure HDMI tester, but then you can use this tester for some of those different odd tests that are not a part of the other systems. Then you can save the report, pass it on, and know that everything's going on healthy. This is perfect for HDMI cable manufacturers as well, to provide this to their clients and to different third parties that would need confidence in how their cable is manufactured. So if we look at the AV over IP snapshot as well, so now we've all talked about HDBaseT testing. It can actually test for AV over IP. So no matter if it is you're using what kind of video over IP or networked IP, any of those video over IP flavors, this is going to give you that snapshot. It's going to allow you to see the MAC address, the IP address. You'll get the ping time, and you'll get the current configuration. You can even see how many people our nodes are present on the network, and then you have this SNP information there, so you can actually go into a network switch, and then you could control that switch through this device, which making it extremely useful for our integrators that maybe it's hard to get into that switch, or maybe it's hard to access it physically. Well, you can remotely do it using this. You have pre-populated, it's with a different layout. So as you can see here, what kind of switch? Is it a Cisco? Is it a Netgear? They're soon to have updates for Luxol. They'll have the MXNet, which is MPro Edge's AV over IP system. All of the big systems that, the binary systems, the Crestron, any of those systems can be tested with this device. So making it just that two-part effort, where if you have HDBaseT, boom, you can test it. If you have AV over IP, no problem, you can test it here as well, getting your health speed for up and down as well. So when should you use this product? Well, number one, when you're terminating your own RJ45 ends. We get people all the time who say they're the best terminators ever. Well, Schwarzenegger level terminators. Well, guess what? that may be the case, but even the best, even Schwarzenegger messes up as Terminator sometimes. And when you're using EZN specifically, no matter how good you do it, there's little copper pieces that can mix signals, and those pairs can start changing signals, and that will give you errors. Now, how are you going to determine that? It could be that you're getting enough errors, but the picture gets on screen. So how do you know it's bad? Well, you now know with this device to tell you that you need to check this. You don't want to leave this system like this, because you're going to know a week later you're going to have to come back and fix something. Now you're going to, the next reason when you use this this product is to certify HDBaseT runs in your installation. Up your professionalism as a installer by providing documented proof that your install is built for audio video transfer with HDBaseT. And then now you can check those troubled zones over time. You know, you get on site, those zones working, but your customer swears that every time you leave, it drops out here and there. Why is that? Well, you can just determine that with this. Set it on a test, put it to run, plug it in, hit that 24 hours, come back the next day and get your readouts for what's going on. So now we're looking at the product breakdown here. I'm not going to get too much into this because Jason is going to be able to tell you all about this base unit and these different modules that you have available. So without further ado, let's take a look here. Jason, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, how you doing, man?
Good.
Good,
Are you
good.
excited? Are you ready to show this off to us or
Oh
what?
yeah. This thing, I've been playing with this thing for several days. It's definitely a big problem solver, a big time saver. And you know, we've never had anything like this before, so I've had a lot of fun experimenting with it and getting to know it pretty intimately. So first thing we'll take a look at, guys. Tom was kind of showing you some pictures before of the unit itself. It's fairly small, handheld, easy to carry around. As he mentioned, it's battery power and has Wi-Fi, so you know I can walk around and I can basically see whatever I need to see, all portable. He did also mention the user interface that you can access from a smartphone or a tablet or perhaps even a PC. So you know, once we connect via Wi-Fi to the MSol tester, we can type in an IP address to any browser, 192.168.11.1, and now I have full visibility and full control over the unit, which is really helpful in situations where I have to you know, be in one room and watch a TV, see what's going on while the unit itself is maybe buried in a rack somewhere. So being able to have access to that remotely is super cool. Very cool feature. The unit itself, the front panel is touchscreen. There is a small stylus that comes with it as well, so you can use that if you'd like to. There is a power connector here on the side for charging. There's an HDMI output here for the test generator. The big thing we want to really pay attention to here, oh, one more thing too, on the back side of it, we have some USB ports here. We have an Ethernet cable here for testing IP, and then the main rocker switch for power. The USB connections here are super helpful. Tom mentioned this before, but the instruction manual and a bunch of walkthrough guides are built into the unit itself. And to get those PDFs out of the unit, you could connect a USB cable, go into the unit's main menu, and you can pull those PDF files straight to the USB stick, pop it into your PC, and then boom, you've got the manuals and some walkthrough guides there as well. So super cool, super helpful, easy to use. What we're going to look at here is kind of the bottom end of it, where the modules go. So you'll notice here there's one slot which we have a transmitter in. Yep, we have a transmitter in right now, and there's an empty slot just above it. That empty slot is just for storage. So if you wanted to carry around your transmitter and receiver module at the same time, that's no problem. You can slide the receiver module into here, and you can store it and carry it around with you like that. And as I'm saying that, of course, I'm having a hard time sliding it in, but I'm having a hard time seeing it too. So let's just get that lined up correctly, and boom, there we go. Now we can walk around. We have both units. I can use either one. I don't have to carry the case around with me. Speaking of the case, it does come with a nice hard shell plastic case, similar to what you see with other Murideo products. There's a main slot here for the unit, a couple of slots for the add-on modules, and it's a nice hard carrying case that you should be able to travel with no problem at all. So I want to look at a couple of sort of simple things here first, just to show you guys some of the features of the unit. We'll do some real basic HDMI analysis to show you how the unit works here. So right now I have the transmitter in the unit itself. So one of the pieces it comes with is a receiver unit. So we're going to test an HDBaseT cable with the transmitter and the receiver. One thing I do want to point out is, with HDBaseT, it can transmit power. So we do need to power this receiver. And the way we do that is this small little bumper that comes with the unit. If you pull that little piece out and install it onto the little receiver unit, now the little receiver unit will have HDBaseT power when we plug in a cable. So I'm going to take the transmitter, which is, again, in the unit now. We're going to take a category cable, plug it into the transmitter, and we're going to take the other end of the category cable and just simply plug it into the receiver. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary here at all. So now when I go to the main menu of the unit, or I could do this on my smartphone, of course, we're going to pick the HDBaseT Analyzer menu, which is the top menu there. And then we have a couple of submenus: Basic Analysis, Performance, and Configuration. If I click Basic Analysis, I can check the link quality between the transmitter and receiver. And right now I've got green, which is awesome. That means the link is good. It tells me that it's a VS100 chip, so that's good to know. Something that's interesting here, Tom mentioned a lot about the cable length before. Remember, with HDBaseT, the minimum for HDBaseT is 20 meters. So any cable that you might be using that's shorter than that, it'll show up on the unit itself as, I have mine set to feet right now because we're in America. So right now it says less than 60 feet. From here, I have the pixel clock. Again, all green lights. Everything here looks really good. If we go back to the performance submenu, the second submenu here, this will tell us the maximum and the mean errors that Tom mentioned before, both on the TX and the RX. So if we look in the first column here, that'll show us the max error for the TX, the average error for the TX, and then the max error for the receiver and the average error for the receiver. And in any case, guys, no matter which one I pick here, all of them are well under the yellow line. All of them have a green, nice, healthy signal. So that tells me that this cable that I'm using right now is good to go, ready to rock. The terminations were good. It's not too long. All those other things. The signal will pass with this cable. And again, as Tom mentioned before, another great feature is we can actually document this. You can give a stack of paperwork to your client. Maybe you had 67 runs that day to make and you wanted to proof all of them. You have physical proof now that all of those runs are terminated correctly and work and they're correct length and all that type of stuff. Very, very cool. Now, the other thing you can think about too here, which is nice, is I don't necessarily have to use the receiver that it came with to do the testing. I could take something like a beautiful AV Pro Edge receiver here as part of the, this is the EX70444 receiver that comes with that HDMI extender kit. And we're going to plug the other end into the HDBaseT terminal on the receiver of the HDMI extender kit. And then from here, we can take the basic analysis, and now we can look at the max errors going and using this as a receiver instead of using the receiver that it came with. So a lot of cool things here. We could do the exact opposite if we wanted to test the transmitter. We could put the transmitter on one end and the receiver into the unit itself, and we can do some testing that way as well, which is really cool. A couple of the other modules that it comes with, I do want to point this out. We've got the TX in there now. We've got the receiver that it comes with here as well. Now, if you want to jump up to the HDBaseT 2.0 situation, where you have the full 5-play with USB and all the other great things, these two modules are also transmitter and receiver, but they have USB connections on them, so you can test part of that 5-play, and you can test that USB link between the transmitter and receiver as well. These are optional. These are really cool. They work out really well. You also have the HDMI module here. So if we wanted to test the pinout, as Tom described before, of an HDMI cable, this is, again, a simple pass-fail. It'll tell you if the cable's damaged or if it's passing electrons or not. It's kind of a basic HDMI cable test, not something you'd see like on a Fox and Hound, but it will at least tell you that the cable itself is not damaged or nicked or anything like that. So there's the HDMI module. You also have, this is a really cool piece right here. This is the DC resistance module. As Tom mentioned before, power is super important when we're sending power over an Ethernet cable for HDBaseT. And if you have any dropouts at all with your power, this is the module that's going to tell you that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power down the unit. One thing you want to make sure of is it's not probably going to hurt the unit, but I don't feel very comfortable yanking out the modules with the unit powered on. It's kind of like, pulling out a thumb drive without extracting it or without ejecting it first. So I'm going to pull out the transmitter, and we're going to pop in the DC resistance module. And then once the DC resistance module is popped in, I'm going to plug in the category cable, go ahead and power the unit back up. If you're experimenting with one of these, one thing that kind of threw me for a loop first was that it took about 30 seconds to power up. So be patient, it'll beep when it's ready to go and let you know that it's powered up and fully ready to rock. So we'll do this test in a moment when this boots up. I also want to show you guys one more cool thing that I did. Tom mentioned before that this will tell you the cable length. I was using a shorter cable before, so it said less than 60 feet. I've got this bad boy right here. We're going to test this cat cable and see exactly what's going on lengthwise, health-wise, and that'll be a fun little test for you guys to see as well. So we'll do that here after the DC resistance test. So as that's booting up, let me just take a quick look in the question box and see if any questions have come in. And I have not seen any yet. There was one question about pricing that I think we'll talk about, we can talk about towards the end. So here we go, the unit's booting up now. We're just kind of waiting for everything to sync up and waiting for it to boot. There's the beep as I described before. Now, if we take the stylus, you could use your fingers too as well, of course. We're going to go into the tools menu, and this was not accessible before. This DC resistance was grayed out, just like the which one is that? The HDBaseT firmware update right now is grayed out. So there might be some things on this menu that are accessible or not accessible based on which module you have put in here. So like, for example, the HDMI test option is grayed out because I don't have the HDMI module put in there, but I do have the DC resistance module put in there right now. So I'm going to click that option, and we're going to look at all 4 pairs, A, B, C, and D, and you can see that all of them are green check marks. That's awesome. That means that this cable is good and we don't have any issues with power. We can look at this on a parallel DC resistance unbalanced, or we can look at it pair to pair. And in any case, no matter what I pick here, we've got low numbers, we've got green check marks. So we know that this cable is healthy as far as transmitting a signal. We also know that this cable and this run is healthy when it comes to power as well. So some pretty cool stuff there. Again, like I said before, I do want to show you guys the kind of the accuracy of the test here for the cable test, to show us how long the cable is. So let's pop the transmitter module back in. See, that pops in nice and easy once you get it lined up correctly. Go ahead and power the unit back up, and on the other end, instead of the looper module, we're going to go back to the receiver module. Go ahead and plug that in for the category cable, but as I say that, I realize I still have my short cable, so let's pull that big long cable out, and I'm going to plug in to the transmitter, and we're going to plug in the other end to the receiver. Now, I know for sure, because I cut and terminated this cable myself, I know for sure that this cable is 300 feet. As you guys all know, there are markings on the cable to let you know per foot, where you're at. So I cut this to basically exactly 300 feet. So let's take a quick look at the tester here to see how accurate that is, and also to see the health of this big honking long Ethernet cable. Now, a couple things I do want to point out. It is coiled up, which there's the beep, so it's ready to go. The cable here is coiled up, and as we know, not a great idea for HDBaseT. So I would not be surprised if we actually see some health issues with this cable. So the unit's back up. Let's see what's going on here with this cable. We're going to go to the performance. I'm sorry, we're going to go to the HDBaseT analyzer and basic analysis. And I've actually got some green lights, which is kind of surprising. I thought that this would have sort of an issue. Okay, let's sync that back up here. It's telling us it's a VS100 chip, which we kind of knew. We figured that out before. And once everything syncs here, we actually do have a little bit of signal creeping into the yellow. And you can sort of see that here on the unit itself. Oh, and it's bouncing between yellow and green. Oh, we just completely lost it. So I must have maybe dropped something here. But it does say 303 feet for the cable length. So it's supposed to be within a 10% tolerance. The cable's 300, it says 303, that's within tolerance, that's great. So yeah, I am creeping here between green and yellow. As I kind of grab the cable and move it around a little bit, I do see some fluctuations here. So, this isn't something you'd ever want to do in a real job, is coil up a long HDBaseT cable like this. But the test is very accurate. I do have a little bit of issue here, so it could be the fact that the cable's coiled up. There is a chance that I may have not terminated this cable the best possible way, so maybe I would want to re-terminate this cable. If I uncoil the cable and re-terminate it, I might get some better numbers here, and I might get a better graph here. So either way, what I wanted to show you here was the accuracy when it comes to measuring the length of the cable, and it really nailed it. And Tom, gosh, I feel like I just blew through that, but I think I touched on everything here. Did I miss anything, guys? Dustin or Tom?
That looks good to me, Jason. No, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that was a well in-depth review and a close look at it, and it's so cool to see those cable tests up close and see
Yeah.
see how it can really take that huge cable and then give you those accurate readings. It
weighs a ton too. And the funny thing is, guys, is you saw how easy I was swapping out modules and going into the menu and clicking buttons and stuff. I've only had a few days to play with this. It is brand spanking new, and I've learned it fairly quickly. You guys should be able to learn it super quick as well. It's very straightforward. There's no, you don't have to be an engineer to use this piece at all. You can navigate through the menus rather easily on the unit itself, or something I might be inclined to do if I'm working in the field is maybe have this unit plugged in and I can use my smartphone to control it from there too. It gives me a little bit more freedom, and I don't have to worry about doing things like dropping 300-foot cables and screwing the test up. So hopefully that's helpful. It does look like there's a couple of questions here in the question box. Ryan says, are you going to discuss AV over IP testing? Tom, I think you kind of touched on that during the PowerPoint, right?
I touched on it really quick, but it is a great question, Ryan, and we can definitely, you could go the entire time just talking about AV over IP testing, but basically what it's going to be able to do for you is going to just give you all of the analysis and the information that you are need to have to understand what this receiver is, or with AV over IP, what this encoder or what this decoder is doing, and what kind of health the cable infrastructure is going to have for that AV over IP thing. So if you did want to look in that a little bit deeper though, Ryan, if you go to our website, our manual is just being wrapped up right now. You can see the MSolutions version of the manual by just going to that same IP address that we were showing, and you can actually even see the manual there. You can look at the deep details for AV over IP testing, and then you can use that simulator to even actually do some simulations for AV over IP testing. So I would say that would be probably your next avenue for where to check out some more information for that, Ryan.
And Tom, we talked a lot about HDBaseT because that's kind of the bulk of our audience and ourselves. And one thing we didn't really touch on too much, but it has capabilities of testing regular IP networks and stuff as well. Remember, there is an Ethernet port here at the top. So if you walk into a retrofit job and there's an Ethernet port on the wall and you're not sure, who knows, you didn't install it. So you can use this also to test your normal, regular, plain old IP networks as well, not just HDBaseT. So it's a super helpful tool. We can do AV over IP, we can do HDBaseT, we can do regular IP, we can do HDMI, and all in this nice little package.
Well, yeah. And I can also expand on that just a small part there.
Yeah, Dustin, go ahead. Sure.
I don't have anything on there, but as far as your AV over IP, that's going to give you a pretty good snapshot of everything. So it's going to be like your MAC and IP address, your pings, your current switch configurations. It's going to show you how many nodes you have showing active and non-active nodes. It's going to give you your network management protocol. It's going to have snooping in it. It's got VLAN setup. It's got pretty much everything you could need for any of your AV over IP solutions. It's going to test anything in there. As far as that goes, I just don't have one, and I know we don't have one set up there to show in the system. So, so I appreciate everyone asking the questions. But yes, this is going to be kind of your end-all, do-all test tool for regardless of what you're doing. We used to be the experts in HDBaseT. Now we're expanding into everything. So anything you could possibly need in any other questions. We do have videos that we can show you too. And even on that device, It comes with 4 different videos on there showing you how to use the device you're using. So it's a very in-depth piece.
Yeah, and you know, I got to say too, just the overall ease of use and the problems that it solves. Again, we want you guys to concentrate on new jobs and new installations and new clients. And you know, when you have to go back to somebody's house 2, 3, 4, 5 times to trace these problems, it gets super frustrating for you. I've been there myself. It gets super frustrating for the customer. So this paired up with something like a Fox and Hound, guys, you'll be able to test anything you want, anytime you want, any kind of audio video installation, and with the addition of being able to do AV over IP and regular IP and things like that as well. Another question that came up was from Eric, and he had a question about pricing. So I don't know if maybe Dustin wants to tackle that.
Helps if you unmute yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you what I am going to do is with the email I send out with all my contact information, I am going to send out pricing for everybody too. There is some different parts to it. Obviously, it comes with the different modules. I will send what comes in the box and then what are the optional outside of the box, just so it doesn't get all confused. There is a couple different options of configurations out there. So anybody that did sign up, I have your emails on there. I can send out the pricing. It will be available on our website also, so everything will be available on there as far as purchase pricing and everything like that too, if you've signed up for the stores. But yes, I will get that out to you.
Good, good. And Sam just brought up a great point. I can't believe I forgot this, honestly, but you know, being an HDBaseT certified device, there's one extra thing that it can do that I totally spaced on. So this is awesome. So you guys know that out in the field right now, we have projectors and AVRs and all kinds of video cards and all kinds of devices that have an HDBaseT either transmitter or receiver built into it. And on occasion, those HDBaseT chips need to have their firmware updated. Guess what you can do with this device? If I'm connected to, let's say, a projector, and we need to update the firmware on the HDBaseT chip in the projector, I can do it from this device right here, which is super, super cool. I find that very helpful. You know, you don't have to go to the manufacturer's website and download things, do a thumb drive, and do this whole thing. And while you're on top of a ladder trying to hold, trying to hold your test equipment and stuff. So being able to update the firmware on HDBaseT chips from the device itself is another great feature. Other than that, guys, feel free, let those questions roll in. I don't see any new questions at the moment, so maybe we'll give it another, maybe minute or two to let any last minute questions roll in. If no new questions come in, guys, feel free to reach out anytime. info@murideo.com. You can get a hold of any of us. Mine is easy. It's jason@murideo.com. Dustin is dustin@murideo.com. Feel free, guys, reach out. We're super excited about this product. We want to get it into your hands, and we really want to take advantage of what this thing can do. So gosh, with that being said, I don't see any new questions at all. If you do have any questions or you think of some later, feel free, reach out, send us an email, and we're happy to help you out with anything you might need. Oh, and Ryan says, when is it shipping? And guys, if I'm not mistaken, it is shipping right now, correct?
They are in stock and ready to roll. So whenever
Boom.
you're ready, we'll have it out to you. Usually we ship anywhere within the continental United States within 3 days.
There you go, guys. There you go. So there, Ryan, I hope that answers your question. It is ready to rock and roll. It is available. And the only other thing I can think of, Tom, is on the web GUIs that you were showing everybody from those screenshots, looked a little bit different than the GUI on the unit itself. I just wanted to bring this up because I know it's going to be asked at some point. There is a brand new firmware update coming to the unit that will change the look of the menus. It will not change as far as like functionality or any of the things that we talked about today by any means. They just kind of spruced up the GUI and the look a little bit. So if I'm not mistaken, Dustin or Tom, maybe you can chime in here if I'm wrong here, but any new units that ship as of like this week really will have the new firmware with the new GUI, is that right?
I'll hop in there real quick. So as of right now, I believe we're about 2 weeks out total.
Okay, there
so
you go.
that'll
Perfect.
be coming up here. But don't fret, don't worry, don't wait, because what's going to happen with that is this is one of the most simplistic ways of doing a software upgrade. It's going to be on the website for MSolutions, and we'll also have it up on ours. You're going to download it, throw it on a USB drive, and boom, it's on there. It's a super easy update. Jason, you can pop in there and show them where the software update button is. So that'll be awesome.
let's say, for example, I had a thumb drive with the new firmware on it. So I would pop the thumb drive into one of the USB slots right here. And then on the main menu, I would go to, we'll start from the beginning here. We're going to go to System Setup, and then we're going to click the top option there, System Upgrade. And right now it says there's no USB memory in the device, which is true. So it is that simple. It's 2 or 3 steps, no big deal. But as Dustin said, guys, don't wait. If this is a tool that's going to help you today, go ahead and get it. The only change that we're going to see with that firmware update is kind of the skin or the look of that web GUI. Like I said, they just kind of spruced it up a little bit. You know, everybody's all about that dark mode now, so the backgrounds are all black and things like that. But cool, guys, that's it. I don't see any new questions at all. Again, feel free, jason@murideo.com, info@murideo.com, dustin@murideo.com. If any questions come up later, feel free to shoot them over. And Tom, thank you so much for your time and going through the presentation. Dustin, thank you for being here as well. And that's it for us. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time.